They asked again what business she had there, she who was so foul and black, and who had no clothes to show herself in. Might be the Prince or some one else would see her, and then both she and all the others would smart for it. But Katie said they had something else to do than to look at her, and she wouldn't leave off begging and praying till they gave her leave to go. So the same thing happened now as had happened twice before. She went to the rock and knocked with a stick, and then the man came out and gave her a kirtle which was far grander than either of the others. It was almost all pure gold, and studded with diamonds, and she got besides a noble steed with a gold-broidered saddle-cloth and a golden bit. Now when the King's daughter got to the church, there stood the priest, and all the people in the churchyard waiting for her. Up came the Prince running, and wanted to hold her horse, but she jumped off and said, "No thanks, there's no need, for my horse is so well broke, it stands still when I bid him." So they all hastened into the church, and the priest got into the pulpit, but no one listened to a word he said, for they all looked too much at her, and wondered whence she came, and the Prince, he was far deeper in love than either of the former times. He had no eyes or ears or sense for anything, but just to sit and stare at her. So when the sermon was over, and the King's daughter was to go out of the church, the Prince had got a firkin of pitch poured out in the porch, that he might come and help her over it, but she didn't care a bit, she just put her foot right down in the midst of the pitch, and jumped across it. But then one of her golden shoes stuck fast in it, and as she got on her horse, up came the Prince running out of the church, and asked whence she came. "I'm from Combland", said Katie. But when the Prince wanted to reach her the golden shoe, she said, "Bright before and dark behind, clouds come rolling on the wind, that this Prince may never see where my good steed goes with me." So the Prince couldn't tell still what had become of her, and he went about a weary time all over the world, asking for Combland, but when no one could tell him where it lay, he ordered it to be given out everywhere that he would wed the woman whose foot could fit the gold shoe. So many came of all sorts from all sides, fair and ugly alike, but there was no one who had so small a foot as to be able to get on the gold shoe. And after a long, long time, who should come but Katie's wicked stepmother, and her daughter too, and her the gold shoe fitted, but ugly she was, and so loathly she looked, the Prince only kept his word sore against his will. Still they got ready the wedding feast, and she was dressed up and decked out as a bride, but as they rode to church a little bird sat upon a tree and sang: "A bit off her heel and a bit off her toe, Katie Woodencloak's tiny shoe is full of blood, that's all I know." And sure enough, when they looked to it, the bird told the truth, for blood gushed out of the shoe. Then all the maids and women who were about the palace had to go up to try on the shoe, but there was none of them whom it would fit at all. "But where's Katie Woodencloak?" asked the Prince, when all the rest had tried the shoe, for he understood the song of birds very well, and bore in mind what the little bird had said. "Oh, she think of that", said the rest; "it's no good her coming forward; why, she's legs like a horse." "Very true, I dare say", said the Prince; "but since all the others have tried, Katie may as well try too." "Katie!" he bawled out through the door, and Katie came trampling upstairs, and her wooden cloak clattered as if a whole regiment of dragoons were charging up. "Now you must try the shoe on, and be a princess, you too", said the other maids, and laughed and made a game of her. So Katie took up the shoe, and put her foot into it like nothing, and threw off her wooden cloak, and so there she stood in her gold kirtle, and it shone so that the sunbeams glistened from her, and lo! on her other foot she had the fellow to the gold shoe. So when the Prince knew her again, he grew so glad, he ran up to her and threw his arms around her, and gave her a kiss, and when he heard she was a king's daughter he got gladder still, and then came the wedding feast, and so— Snip, snip, snover, this story's over. End of Section 56.